Here to acknowledge all the excellent years that Jay's had with Boeing, and I brought a number of facts with me, and some of them I'll get into generalities for the numbers because of the information. But a lot of times, you know, when you don't work at Boeing, you really don't know the impact that somebody you work with has in the organization, in the company, and ultimately, across the enterprise. So I wanted to share a little bit with the family, especially, so that you have an idea. If Jay's anything like me, your family doesn't know much about what you do other than you have a good time at work.
You're so right.
And you come back. So I wanted to share a couple of facts with you along the way. First, we have a 37-year man here, and
Wow.
that's quite an accomplishment in itself. The other thing is that you probably know that Jay's a Tech Fellow, but you probably don't know that the Tech Fellowship is really a selective group. And it's a very small group, and it's a group that's responsible for the technical integrity of our products. That's normally our fighters, our transports, and our commercial airplanes. And this is a very small elite group that we count on. Boeing's an engineering company, and we innovate. And we count on this group of people to make that happen. And Jay's got quite a list of accomplishments when it comes to that. So you should be very proud. He's been a Tech Fellow for a decade, and an ATF before that. And that's based on your accomplishments, and that's they're rated by their peers. And like I said, it's a very select group. So you should be very proud of that fact. And I've had the privilege to work with Jay for the past 2.5 years. And I've got a number of Tech Fellows, and I'm just amazed at what's been accomplished, and especially when I was reviewing in preparation for tonight, just looking at what's happened. I can aspire to accomplish half as much in my career, and I'd be a happy camper. And it makes me, when I look at it, going, wow, look what he did so early. Just in the time that I was here, when the time at Bell Helicopter. So. If you didn't know, Jay started his career with Boeing at Bell Helicopter before the merger. And just so happens it was serendipitous, and when he joined McDonnell Douglas, got to combine all the years involved. So quite a move. Too bad you couldn't bring your retiree health care with you from the old Boeing plant along the way. So kind of an inside joke for the non-Puget Sound Boeing employees. So the other part is that a lot of guys will go through a career and they've impacted one program, one production program. And Jay's hit many along his way. Started with helicopters. You got the 717. Probably have the MD-11, which is the one I think you talk about the most. And I think you're the most proud of the MD-11. And my MD-11 fact here is, over a ton worth of weight savings on that particular program, with close to almost $6 million in savings captured. So that's money in Boeing's pocket. Unfortunately, it's not as much money in Jay's pocket, but it's money in Boeing's pocket. It's money in our customers' pocket, and it's what helps us sell airplanes along the way. He's been involved in the C-17, which is if you were watching the news lately, the C-17 just landed on a 3,500-foot airstrip, so less than a mile. Was expected to land on almost a 2.5-mile runway, and landed short. Looked really good, so probably a good advertisement for the airplane along the way. The B-1B is a Rockwell. We've been involved in ground missile defense, and then the Boeing commercial airline. 737, 787 is probably the most recent one, and then 777. So a lot of impact on the programs, and a lot to be proud of. One of the things I know Jay the most for is the efforts on the environmental control system. So the ducts, and we work a number of different programs and different proprietary programs. So I've been sending Jay's duct information across the line as we approach affordability becomes a big factor. So I wanted to read a couple of accomplishments of Jay's over the years. So now while we talk today, instead of 34 patents, we're now up to 35 patents along the way. And I think one of the uniqueness about Jay's patents, I think you probably have about a 90% utilization on production programs with your patents. A lot of folks have a lot of patents, but they might not actually be in use. And there's a little bit difference in what Jay's done, is that his are actually being applied real time. And there's been a number of ones. We just went through some churn with my management. We were trying to license one of the technologies that Jay developed, and it went up the chain, and we decided that we didn't want to license it, that it was too key to give out because the supplier could easily give it to Airbus. And so we decided to retain it and not to license it, but nevertheless, it illustrates the importance of the technology and the progress being made. He's worked on some of his technology road mapping. You know, we're talking over hundreds of millions of dollars in savings when you go, and that could range, depending on the life of the aircraft, well beyond that, with potential to go. Well, I have here $1 billion, so a lot of impact for us. When Jay started with Boeing helicopter, he worked on at the time, so this is the 80s, right? This is late 70s, early 80s, worked on an all composite helicopter, which would have been really novel at the time, the CH-46. Now, I'm not that familiar with helicopters, but at that time received an award for the Army, attributed to $13 million in savings for that aircraft. And quite an accomplishment. Very young in your career, mind you. When he joined Boeing in McDonnell Douglas, I spent a lot of time on early on the MD-11, where we have 10 million per year, and this is where the couple thousand a ton worth of weight savings. So weight savings on an airplane is gold. It's fuel. I was telling Dave that if you're ever taking the Al Gore footprint, the CO2 footprint, if you fly more than one flight a year, you blow the average away for the average American CO2 footprint. And especially with the cost of energy, and I take maybe 40 of them a year, by the time you make all the connections and stuff, the weight becomes a very important thing, and it's a big driver for our group. Developed a hybrid cargo liner, phenolic glass trim for the MD-11. Now it's an industry standard. So, and if you don't know a lot of things Jay works on, there's certain flame, smoke, and toxicity requirements so that you don't suffocate before your plane crashes into the water. Just joking. That's always how I look at why I'd rather die smoke inhalation than impact. But anyway, but it's a key thing when it comes to, it's an FAA joke, sorry. And then also, I think one of the really cool technologies I saw is the flexible duct system, and that's one that we're using across the enterprise. It's adopted on the 87, it's been on the C-130. Hopefully it's going to be on a lot of our proprietary airplanes coming along the way. It's worked on a number of lightweight glass reinforced polyamide fastening systems for advanced composite structures. And so we got a lot of galvanic corrosion associated with that's essentially a battery you pick up. And we don't like to corrode our metals along the way, so that becomes very important to us. I spoke about the ECS docks. Heat shield, Jay, I think I saw here, this is one well before my time, but the heat shield and unique installation of the engine carbon composite cowling to minimize aerodynamic concerns. I'm guessing this is working with the Rolls-Royce piece of it?
No, that was on MD-80.
MD-80.
When APU,
Okay.
in service, when they open the cowling, that comes very close to exhaust of APU and was impinging about somewhere 913 degrees and was just ruining the carbon composite.
Right, right. Yeah, so our typical carbon composites don't like anything, above 250 degrees for any kind of prolonged exposure. A couple areas that just like some breakthrough technologies through. The other area that I really know Jay for is the innovation in thermoplastics. And we'll talk about it a little later, but he's had a number of awards given to him by thermoplastics companies while he's been working for Boeing for the work that he's done. And that's a really significant achievement. And what he's done is there's some really innovative things in the forming technologies and to get into 3D forming that goes along to build our airplanes. It's just, in my group in structural composites, you know, Jay's an out-of-the-box thinker. And, you know, been trying to work for the past couple of years is, hey, how do you take those kind of ideas and apply them in this continuous reinforced world to save money? So we'll really miss your input and your involvement in the team, Jay, and I just wish that I would have been able to harvest that more. I can go on. There's a really long list. There's also, and I guess where I was humbled and felt really insignificant when I was looking at Jay's industry awards. So just let me read 10 of them. He's a fellow in the Society of Advancement of Materials and Process Engineering, so if you're a composite person, SAMPE is the place. And that's where Composite People is the main conference for all of us, so that was 2008. Fellow of SAE, Asian American Engineer of the Year, 2009. Forrest McFarlane Award, SAE, 2006. Boeing Corporate Executive Excellence Engineer, 2005. GE Electric Company developing high-performance polyether imide, Alt-MA thermoplastics. Amoco Structural Composites, development of solvent-resistant polyphenol sulfones. GE Electric, GE Company developing, enhancing twin sheet forming and extruding processes. So we got a guy here that's getting awards from our suppliers along the way, and I'm guessing they're awarding him because Jay was able to take their materials and actually apply them to our real world applications. So quite an accomplishment. Doesn't happen most. Probably one of the most important things to me, despite all the technologies, is this statement right here. Mentored over 50 engineers, coached over 10 ATS, TF candidates, and trained engineers and mechanics from Boeing airplane suppliers, etc. And, you know, as a manager here at Boeing and as a Heritage McDonnell Douglas person that has seen, you know, the average age of our engineers go way up over time and not quite be balanced in our hiring process because of the market. That whole mentee thing means a lot to me, and how do we transfer knowledge down the chain? So thank you. That's an important part of doing business, and it's an important part of educating the younger crowd. And a couple of quotes I want to read here. One's from Al Haggerty. We talked about this one today when we were meeting. So Al Haggerty, Jay first met Al Haggerty at the Boeing helicopter company. And later, Al Haggerty became the vice president of Boeing engineering for all of Boeing Defense Systems. So he had all the Boeing Defense sites, and he was the head engineering honcho. It said, Jay was handpicked to lead a development team with the all-composites CH-46 C-9 helicopter for the U.S. Marines, the forerunner of the V-22 Osprey, which you see in a lot of movies right now. Jay is recognized as a national and international authority in the field of composites and plastics technology. He's a complete engineer with a solid foundation in theory and the extraordinary talent in applying engineering principles to aerospace manufacturing. And, you know, coming from Al Haggerty, that's really quite a credit. And the other thing that I'll mention is, you know, a lot of times when we get in composites, we care about the structural properties of a material, but, you know, being able to put them into application and understanding those impacts on manufacturing is key to developing technologies and transitioning technologies, which is probably why Jay was so successful. So I wanted to bring it up to let you know the impact that your friends and your family has had on the Boeing company. And on behalf of Boeing, I'd just like to thank you, Jay, and we appreciate your contribution.